Welcome to another episode of I Am Maria podcast, a space where we explore the impact stories that inspire us to be who we are today, showing how our personal decisions and tools shape our lives. Today's guest is someone who brings heart and intention into every moment she walks into. Kelly, when I met you at the QSR conference last year, I'm like, I really want to get to know Kelly because of your experience and also because of the way you were interacting with the audience and everybody what that was there. You know, you're a trainer, a speaker, and a hospitality leader whose journey it's all about teaching, guiding, and empowering others to grow. So I don't want to get into a lot of details, but we're gonna dive now into Kelly's powerful story, starting from who are you, Kelly? And thank you so much for being here. We finally make this happen.
I know it's always about finding the right moment, and I have to say the feeling is mutual. So thank you for having me on the program, and I definitely was drawn to you as well when we met at QSR, and just your curiosity, you're asking questions, and you're always interested, and so this is such a perfect role for you. Um, who am I? Oh, start with the easy questions, why don't you? Um, I think we think about ourselves in terms of relationships to others, and I'm a leader. I'm a trainer. I will share that early on in my career, people would say, "Oh, there's a trainer," and I'm like, "I am a manager. Thank you very much," or "I am a leader," and I really embrace that word. I am a trainer. I think it has a lot of power. I'm a wife. I'm a sister. I'm an aunt, which I think don't tell anybody else, but I think is my favorite role that I've gotten to play, so far. And I'm a little bit of a dreamer.
I love that. I want to get to know you a little more, so I'm going to start asking more questions here. And, we have a lot of decisions in life that are very important, but we're going to try to stay into like one to three important decisions that have led you to the life that you have today and the person that you are today. If you can tell us a little bit more into that, Kelly.
Yeah, decisions that led me to where I am today. Well, I I'm gonna take it back to when I was 5 years old. And I think something that surprises people that get to know me on a deeper level is that I'm actually pretty introverted. I recharge alone. I recharge with a good book. I need my quiet time. I don't get me wrong. I love the spotlight. Um, but I think I can explain that in a critical moment in my life when I was 5. I was in a dance recital, and there was a point where we were supposed to turn our dolls around and hold them out, and the person next to me was still kind of clutching her doll, and I walked right over in the middle of this recital, and I was like, "Hey, you're supposed to turn your doll around and put it out." And I I realized many years later that I think that was me liking to make sure that things are right, or helping people be at their best. Um, and I've seen that show up for me my whole life. It's almost like I can't help it. And bringing out the best in people. Uh, I can share one more that I think is one of those crossroads moments for me. And it fast forward to 17 years old. I was working in a restaurant, a job that I got, by the way, because I was curious about it. How do servers know how to refill your drink, when to take your order, how to remember all it was just fascinating to me. And so I was like, I guess this is what I want to go do. Um, and one day, we had a new hire who said, "Hey, can anybody help me make a salad?" Well, rewind back to that person who couldn't help herself telling the person next to her to turn the baby doll around. I was like, "I can tell you how to make a salad." And so it's a simple thing. It's an Italian side salad. It's got lettuce and mesclun mix, and it's got your grape tomatoes and your 4 pieces of cucumber and so on. And the chef comes running around and saying, whoa, 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 what are you doing? What are you doing? You can't tell anybody how to do anything here. Like, that's not your job. And, it was one of those crossroads moments where I could have crumbled and, gosh, in maybe some parallel universe I did, but in this moment I reached into my deep down and I said very boastfully, like, name anything on the menu, anything. And he was like, oh, my world famous crab cakes. And I proceeded step by step to tell him exactly how he makes those. And, as I replay this memory in my mind, his jaw dropped and then had to like be picked up from the floor. And he just kind of spun around and walked away. And I think sometimes we're defined by the moments that we choose, and sometimes we're defined by the moments that choose us. And in that moment, maybe I didn't realize it then, but I was destined to be a trainer. I was destined to be in training, and I wasn't going to let anybody else tell me otherwise. And that's that moment where your passion and your talents intersect. It's something that I'm good about and I really love doing, and that kind of X marks the spot. Tells me I'm right where I need to be.
Well, totally. Yeah, if it's inside you, like you're going after it. Like, you're good for it. I love that. I love that story. Let's talk about your toolbox,
Mm.
because we have a toolbox that is there with you. Sometimes we take some tools out, but we continue to have resources, techniques. What is that you implement in your life to stay focused and motivated?
Oh gosh. It, first of all, I am not the kind of person that takes things out of the toolbox. I probably should. I probably should carry my toolbox a little bit, but it's probably pretty messy. The number one thing that I do to stay focused and motivated is read. And I know, reading isn't for everybody, but everybody has some way that they like to learn. And to me, learning is synonymous with motivation. We can't tell anybody else to do something that they don't want to do. That motivation is the desire from within to want to do something, and no one can replicate that for you. We can be influential, we can create environments, but it has to come from within. And so, to me, kind of pulling back to my introverted nature, I love to read, and that's where I build my toolbox. I'm a big believer in learning for the sake of learning. I just think it elevates who we are. So it really doesn't matter what I'm reading, although some have had more impact and influence on me than others. Um, I just feel better and I feel sharper when I am in the middle of something, whether it be a sci-fi mystery or a business book, which is kind of where my two my two book tastes tend to go. I tend to switch from one to the other. Um, and I think, gosh, if I was ever to write a book, it would probably be like a curated list of the tools that I have picked up from all of those books, that I read. Uh, just little things here or there that really just resonate and make me you probably don't wanna read a book after me because I am gonna go in and take notes in the margin and underline and underscore and dog ear and I actively read. Um, and, uh, gosh, do you wanna hear about one that I've read recently?
Yeah, of course.
Sure. So, well, I just sat down, um, uh, Let Them by Mel Robbins. It was incredible, and it was gifted to me from a friend, so we book clubbed it together. But the one book that I keep going back to, and I have it right here actually, is Black Sheep. You wanna talk about the ultimate tool book, and by the way, I don't just have one. Do you ever have books that, like, you keep spare copies because you're gonna be talking about this book and you wanna be able to just hand it to a friend and, like, "Here, take this. It's dangerous.
You're
Take
awesome.
this." I always keep extras of this and a couple of others in my library just to be ready at any moment. Um, and it's a quick read, but it's got so much depth to it, and so I won't give it away, but I'll just show you the back cover. Black sheep's wool can't be dyed, and it really is about finding your core values, and your purpose, and it it turned a light bulb on for me. It when I at a period of time where I was really searching. Um, so I guess to bring it back to your original question, focus and motivation. Um, my purpose is helping others grow, and I think that starts with yourself. And so one of the things that I really like to do is stay in a space um, where I can be enthusiastic, where I'm excited to talk about something that motivates me, and I can take that motivation elsewhere. And when you think about growth, right, it starts with a seed. Um, and I'm always thinking about what seed might I be planting that's not going to sprout today, right? That will sprout sometime in the future. So whether it's tiny little habits, or just taking 5 minutes to do something, it could be, taking a moment for meditation, drinking a glass of water, like any of those things that are good for you. Giving yourself credit for those little motivational seeds that you're planting.
Wow. I love you put it that way because when you think about habits or a new seed that you're going to plant, you think that you're going to have to build that and that's going to grow in 21 days. But sometimes it is not, it's the small steps, like you're saying, it's more cautious on drinking water or eating well or whatever it is that you're looking for. I love that.
And it's hard. Like, I think it's a lesson that I am learning right now is you have to combat or face the fact that what you want to do, if you want change, it's going to be hard. And it's in those little moments. Quick story. Somebody once told my husband who's learning to play guitar, just practice 5 minutes a day. And he's like, what? I'm not going to be able to learn the guitar in 5 minutes a day. But the magic of the 5 minutes a day is when you
Mm.
pick it up and you get started, you're only promising yourself 5 minutes, but you're more likely to keep going, and building those healthy habits. And so I try to build, my habits around those just 5 minutes a day, just that first glass of water in the morning, just that, get out and get some movement, or whatever it is that you're trying to work on to make yourself better.
Wow, I love that. Yeah, it's only 5 minutes a day. Start with the stretching and then you won't stop.
Right. Yeah.
I love that.
It helps. Some days are better than others, but it helps. Yeah.
I love that. Let's go back to the moment you realized teaching and training were your true calling. I don't know if that was the story with the chef and the salad, but what did it unlock on you that moment that you were like, yeah, I'm a trainer?
I think this calling back to the story when I was 5 years old and then the story when I was 17, all of these were seeds that were planted that I didn't realize,
Mm.
um, until I was relatively early on in my career, and I was so fortunate to have three job opportunities at the same company presented to me at the same time. And you want to talk about a crossroads. I really had to make a decision. Was I going to, and it was all in the hospitality industry. Hospitality is just about all I've ever known. Like many people, I started doing it to, wait for the real job. And then I realized, oh my gosh, it is the real job and I'm good at it. And so at that crossroads, I could, go into operations, I could go into HR, or I could go into training. Those were the three things that were laid out for me at the same time. And gosh, it feels good to be wanted in that capacity, having three different leaders say, come work for me, come work for me. So I think back on that experience very fondly, but also one of the toughest decisions that I ever made. And so I think that's the moment where all of those seeds sprouted for me and led me down a path of it's training. It's training. That is what uh, I just love to do. One of my oh my gosh, judge me for this. I'm good with that. But one of my all-time favorite things is watching somebody experience something for the first time. Maybe that's why being an aunt is my favorite role to date because there's so many firsts when you're young. But even today, you get a new hire and they're trying a Whataburger for the first time, and I love watching their face when they take that first bite. Um, that to me was the symbol and signal that I'm here doing what I'm meant to do. So yes, all of those experiences were seeds planted that just kind of at that moment early on in my career said, training is your path.
You're explaining really how is that you align your talents and values to find purpose.
Mhm.
But for people, sometimes is not that easy. There's people that maybe never find their path or their purpose. And maybe that's why you have this book
Mm.
to give away when you feel like. But let's talk about how did that look in real life to you, when you felt like all your talents and your values really are aligned with your purpose.
So it's really interesting. It's an interesting cart or horse conversation because sometimes we're out there doing what we know we should be doing, but we're not necessarily, we don't have the words, right? And I think for so many of us, we're searching for the words. How do I put my purpose into a sentence? How do I share my values and, are in bullet pointed form? How can I summarize this into a really focused goal? Um, and I'll share with you, I've been in this industry for 26 years. I finally found those words last year. Was it last year? Yeah, it was last year. um, and it feels really good to have that locked in, but it's not always, allow the journey to be the journey. So part of it started, a few years ago reading this book, and it really helped me. Um, But I didn't get to the last page of this going, "Ooh, I have it clearly, and succinctly articulated," but it put me on that path. Um, then I attended a workshop and I had an aha in that workshop that was also talking about purpose. And a lot of times, your brain has to work on something else to have the aha. And I was fortunate to have that aha of my purpose is helping others grow. Um, and it took a while to find the right words, even though it's only 3 words, right? Helping others grow. But I'm really passionate about a lot of things. I realized, like, what are the things that I love to do? I love gardening. I love, and something that Maria, you and I have connected over our pets. I'm such a dog person, but any pets. I tell you about how I have, baby birds in a nest above my my door frame outside.
I talk to birds.
Yeah. Exactly. And just there's this great connection with nature, but really it's about helping helping others grow. Watching that person bite into that burger for the first time, they're having that aha. All the synapses are firing, um and the endorphins and so on. And it's to be a part of that really fuels my sense of purpose. Um so then, oh, there's that puzzle piece, the, purpose. Okay, great. And it should link with things that you're already doing, right? It should be
Mm.
moderately aspirational. Um, it should be you at your best. Um, but it can't be so far off target that you're like, that's the person I want to be, but it's not who you've been all of these years, It has to come from the inside out. Um, and then, through some additional work, kind of figuring out my core values, uh, I had this aha. I was in a workshop with an amazing speaker and author, Aiton Shirar, and he was talking about the idea of be, do, have. So often we go through life in the opposite. We say, if I have this, um, then I'll do this, and then I'll finally be the person that I want to be, right? If I have the right tools, resources, skills, money, things afforded to me, then I'll have the great job or the team or whatever it is, and then I'll finally be the person that I'm supposed to be. And the reality is that we have to flip that on its head, and we
Mhm.
have to be in order to have, in
Mm.
order to do. Um, sorry, be in order to do, and then we have comes at the end. And so my core values are be be kind, do good, have fun. And I realized, like, oh my goodness, I'm doing, be, do, have. You focus on who you are, and then how that shows up in your actions, and then how it comes back to you. So be kind, do good, have fun. And that's the filter that I live my life. Did things check those boxes for me? Okay, then come on in, and it's helped me really um set the tone, but it also focuses my purpose.
Well, it seems you have a desire to write a book, and maybe that's a name.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I do think I think that I am, and as we all are, we're the puzzle pieces of all the people that we've met and all the things that we've experienced, and so that's why I think if I was to write a book, it would really be about like all the puzzle pieces I've learned along the way. I'm not telling you anything original. I'm just sharing it in my voice.
I love that. I'm enjoying so much this episode, Kelly.
Oh, thanks. Me too.
Let's talk about a small moment from your early career, maybe through your career, um, that still lives in your memory. And tell us why.
The first thing that I will tell you is I shared the story of me at 17. My resume is actually pretty short. Now I'm somewhere in between the person that loves getting different experiences and works a couple years and leaps, and that person that's been that, career, uh, that single company career. I tend to give places about 10 years of my life. And so I kind of break it up into chunks. So I had that experience, working through college at that small Italian restaurant. Um, oh, that chef would be so mad if he just heard me call it the small Italian restaurant. I wonder where he is now. Uh, I worked at Starbucks for a little bit, right outside of college. And then I had kind of my big three. I worked for a decade at PF Chang's, I worked for a decade at Hop Dottie Burger Bar. And I'm working on a decade and beyond at Whataburger. Um, so early on in my career, uh, well, I'm gonna take you through a little bit of a journey that got me here. Uh, and gosh, the thing that's popping into my head. So I was a server at PF Chang's. I started as a host, became a server. Like I mentioned, right? It's something that we tend to fall into this industry, and then we find out we're good at it, and it's great. It feels great to work at a place where you're good at something. And I remember one day as a server at PF Chang's, I got called in because it was supposed to rain and I was going to work the patio. And guess what? It didn't rain. So I was called in. And when I showed up, the entire patio, all 9 tables were already seated. And I was the only person there. So I had 9 tables. And they were all, waiting for me to show up basically. So I run out there, and I'm standing in the middle of this section, and I'm like, "Hello, everybody." Like, I decided they're one table. Like, what am I gonna do? I'm like, "I'm Kelly. I'm your server. I just got here. and I'm gonna have to ask you all for your patience right away, but I'm gonna go around and take everybody's drink order and I'll be right back. Like, bear with me. We're gonna have fun. This is great. So I go around and I take everybody's drink order, and then I'm out with like this huge tray of drinks, da 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 da, taking everybody, and not everybody's loving it, right? Some people are like the eighth table is like, can we place our order? And I'm like, I'm going as fast as I can. In the middle of all of this, my leader comes outside and he says, Kelly, before you're done today, we have to talk. I was like, That's it. I'm fired. I got so many I don't know what's going on." He didn't like that I'm treating them all as one table, like, "What and so I'm going through the rest of the shift to like, "Well, might as well go down strong and finish this shift off great because 'cause I'm fired." Um, so finally the shift ends and we sit down and it's him and another manager. So I'm like, "Oh, great. He got a witness. I'm really fired." And he's like, "Manager, what did we want to talk to Kelly about?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, Kelly, we think you're great and we think that you should get promoted." And I was like, "Oh, I was not at all expecting that." Um, and I think that's the moment where I realized that I could do more and started to turn this into a career and just started, said yes. And it put me on a trajectory um, to leadership and management and training. Um, and I have to give a quick plug for, um, somebody that has been instrumental to me throughout this whole process, and she's my leader today, and her name is Peggy. She is the chief people officer here at Whataburger, but she's been my leader before. We worked previously, and I think every great career move, although there haven't been many, I can point to her and say thank you and really attribute to her leadership and mentorship and guidance.
That is so nice from you.
Mhm.
And it is so important to have that type of leadership in your career, right? Because you feel good, you feel supported, and also inspired to get to do more.
Yeah, you said it. Everybody needs a champion, and everybody should champion someone else. Um, we all deserve that, and we are all owed that.
And I love the story of the nine tables because you could have freak out and really walk away, but you're like, I'm gonna make this
Little bitty
happen.
freak,
So,
little bitty
right?
freakouts on the inside. I'm like,
So now that you are at Whataburger, what is the biggest impact that you hope to create both in your role and beyond?
Hmm, great question. You know, one of the reasons that I decided to join this team, and I still pinch myself every day that I have, is um, I had been with the brand for almost 10 years. We had 1,800 employees. I knew almost everybody by first name. Um, I joined that organization when they had 3 restaurants. And so I really felt like my thumbprint was there, uh, and that I had left my mark. And something that I really had my sights on was, how do I expand my circle of influence? How do and that's not always about more people and more restaurants and more states and so on, but how, I was a big fish in a small pond, and really wanted, with this purpose in mind, to um to help others grow and expand that. And so Whataburger was really that opportunity to work with, over 50,000, we call them family members, 50,000 employees,
Mm.
um, and have that impact. Training, and everybody can have that impact, but training really gets that opportunity to shape careers and life skills. And whether somebody is coming to work for a summer and go on to school and follow their passions and dreams, or like me, they work here and they discover that it's something that they're really good at and they love, and oh, this is a real job, and they turn that into a career. There are skill sets that you pick up by working in this industry. Um, and so to be the person that leads the charge, that shapes what those skill sets are and shapes what those programs are, um, that's how I'm leaving my mark. And what I want my legacy to be, I feel like is becoming. Um, I'll share one program that we're doing that really exemplifies, and it's called OP Ready. So um, we call our general managers operating partners, and we have over 1,000 locations. And so, as you can imagine, we have over 1,000 operating partners. And as we expand and grow, we just launched in North Carolina, so our 17th state. And there's a big um, there's a lot of pressure on, you know, finding and keeping and growing operating partners, because that's what makes openings happen, and that's what makes a restaurant stable. And that's what, they really are the keystone, between in restaurant operations and support system, and kind of connecting the dots, and they're the communication point. So we realized, not quite 2 years ago, we realized that in order to fuel our growth, we needed to fuel more operating partners. And so my team, in partnership with operations, created a program called OP Ready. And it's taking managers and getting them to the point where, through a 6-month development program, that they emerge from that program called OP Ready, which means they are promotable at any time. It's the right time. Now it's a matter of them being the right person in the right place, right? So if they can't relocate, then and our opening is in North Carolina, then they might not it might not be the right place for them. But it is the right time. And so we're seeing this really come to life. Um, and we bring all of our graduates here. And earlier this week, I actually attended one of these sessions out in Florida. And I was talking to a manager who's about to come next month, come to graduation. And she was telling me, Kelly, this is my first time staying in a hotel. This is my first time getting on an airplane. And to have those life experiences, to get to come to San Antonio, to get FaceTime with our CEO, to get to visit the What a Store. That's something that everybody is so excited. But ultimately, to leave as ready for the next step in your career, that's what I get out of bed for in the morning. And that is just, it's changing people's lives. And ultimately all we're doing is creating the environment for them to change their own life. Um, so that's a little bit of the legacy that we're building now, but ultimately, what I want to be known for, the thumbprint that I want to add during my time here at Whataburger.
How nice. It really sounds like a family.
Oh, yeah. So we're about to turn 75 as a brand, if you can believe it. And when I spoiler alert, I wasn't around in 1950 when when we were first started that first location by Harmon Dobson. But he called his team family members. We oftentimes spend more time together, and
Mhm.
than we even do it at home. And so it was really important that we were building a family that we can hold accountable and uplift and challenge. And I know that word it can be a stigma. People have some very divisive opinions about it, and I have certainly seen that it doesn't work everywhere, but I will share with you that it works here. And maybe it's because it was a part of our beginnings, and has been with us through the test of time. But yeah, we really think of ourselves as family members.
That's so nice. I wonder what will you say to that young kid, what will you, I mean, let me rephrase this. Sorry.
Mm.
I wonder if your younger self saw you today, what will surprise her the most?
Oh,
Maybe that 5 years old kid, that was training and letting the other kid know how he could do it.
Mm. I love this question. Usually it's about what would you say to your younger self, but you're asking me, what would my younger self say
Tell
to
you.
me? Gosh, I wish I really could have that conversation. Sometimes I feel like I do because some of my nieces remind me of me. I I gosh, it's kind of funny, but I really hope that they would say, "Wow, that's so cool." Like I really hope that they would be proud of the person that um they grew up to become, you know. There's been challenge and adversity along the way. There's been tough decisions. There's been incredible highs and highlights, um, and just amazing moments to be proud of. Uh, so I really hope that they would be proud and excited about the future that would be laid out for them. Hmm. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Kelly, you
Yeah.
mentioned plants, pets, and people, really, as your anchors.
Hmm.
What do they reflect about who you are?
I that's a good question. I am somebody who uh likes to care for things. I care a lot. Care is a word that really um resonates with me. I'm so thankful for it because I've gone through periods of my life where I cared way too much what others think, and maybe that's still a little bit of something that lingers around that I'm working on. Um, but ultimately, my care wins out, and so as an example, my husband and I were driving the other day to go to lunch, and in the middle of the road was this giant turtle trying to cross over the the interstate. And I pulled over. I was like, "Oh, we're gonna save this turtle." And yes, you could care what other people think in that moment, watching this person like trying to go get a turtle in the middle of the road and like, oh, it's stopping traffic and so on. But like that's just me. I care too much not to. It's almost can't help myself. And I, I I think a lot of it's helped me refine and focus where I want to spend my time, where I want to donate, and, whether it's donate money or volunteer my time or um what's important to me or what I focus on. I think it's really helped me see the lens of what I like to help grow. Plants, that's why I say others, right? It's not just people, help people grow. It's others, it's plants, it's pets, it's people. And I want to see that follow through for the rest of my days. I would love to, uh, gosh, just wind up tending a huge garden with as many rescue dogs and as much land as as I could possibly get my hands on. So, I think it's seen me through my earliest days. My family loves to tell the story of when I was 2 years old, I went through the garden and proudly picked every single green tomato off the plant and brought them in, like, "Look what I did." Um, to the end of my days, that's where my focus is.
I love that. And you mentioned that the book Black Sheep helped you
Mm,
to define these core values, right? Because when you do all of this, you're saying helping others grow, and that's so beautiful. You read books to grow and to make other grows, but that means that you have really defined your core values, and I want to ask you, what are they? And I'm sure when you're trying to understand what are your values, you have to name them,
mhm.
right? So how did naming your values change your path overall as well?
Something that changes when you name your values is it removes a lot of the excuses and the barriers. If you really apply them, right? Be kind, do good, have fun for me. For others, it can be totally different. Some people say family is a value or health is a value. Um, these words really resonated with me to help focus where I spend my time and to help focus even things like, um, you know, taking big decisions, taking a job, little decisions, what to have for dinner tonight. They help you anchor because we have so many things that are important to us in life. It's easy to get misguided or it's easy to take on too much. And I think something that often happens is are we determining how to spend our time, or is it in reverse? Is our time being spent for us? And every time you say yes to something, whether you know it or not, you're saying no to something else. And so your core values and your purpose help you to protect your time and your energy and ultimately, where you should be. And it doesn't necessarily make it easier, but it does make it clearer where you should be spending your time and what is, you know, defining what is doing right to you.
So in those moments of, um, doubts, not having a clear mind, what keeps you grounded in your purpose?
Going to Disney World. No. No.
Well, maybe that's so fun.
Yeah. What keeps me grounded? It's a work it it's not I am a work in progress. And I think, I've been somebody that has burnt out, that has just said yes to too many things. And I think what keeps me grounded, first of all, find a buddy. Find it like if you recognize habits in yourself, for example, I'm the kind of person that, I'll look up and realize, oh my gosh, it's 8 o'clock and I haven't gone home because I just had the to-do list is always going to be there. Like there's always going to be more things to do. And so something that has helped keep me grounded and find balance is um is committing to going home and having dinner when I can. I travel for work and so on, but and something that has helped me accomplish that is having a work accountability partner. And so just helping to say, hey, it's knock, 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 it's time to go home, and being open about what your goals are and what you're trying to accomplish and helping to helping, somebody else um, with what they're working on and asking for that help as well. That is a big part of staying grounded for me. Um, and you have to figure out what works for you. Like you can pick up attributes that make you successful in what others do, but you can't be somebody else. And so, as an example, I'm the kind of person that I'll be on call all the time unless I'm on vacation. And then that time is really sacred and precious to me. And so I truly clock out in those moments, and that's where I find that balance and that reflection and that rest and relaxation so that I can come back and be on call the rest of the time. That's what works for me. It may not work for you. I used to get mad at people when they would check their email on vacation. And then I realized that I had to let it go. I had to I because that logging out of my email works for me. Maybe it doesn't work for them. Maybe that's not right. And I can be encouraging. I can say, hey, this is what works for me. But ultimately, I have to let them do what they're going to do. And if that's how they get the most enjoyment out of their vacation, then who am I to say otherwise?
So you're maybe, I'm not gonna reply to your email because you're on vacation. I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I pride myself, and my team knows this. I pride myself on putting very good away messages on my emails. So you can email me. I'm not going to see it. You know, I trust my team. Um, and I know that they got this. Like, you know, two, for me, it always takes about realistically about 2 days, right? We get in a habit, like, we're like, "Oh," we pick up the phone, and so I physically uninstall my email and my calendar from my phone, um, because I think it's a really healthy balance for me, and so just when I'm on vacation, because you have that habit, the first 24, 48 hours, pick up the phone, and if the notifications are there, it's too tempting.
Mhm,
So I've gotta disconnect, and then finally, I mean, I just feel it on that 3rd day, it's like, "Oh, I don't need it." And I don't,
mm.
there'll be times where I just leave my phone for the day, um, and, and that break is exactly what I'm looking for, but it takes time for me to get that.
Nice. And it's really not easy. I'm learning
Mm,
to get disconnected when I go on vacation
mm.
because it's truly needed. But let's talk about public speaking because
Woo!
I really enjoy
Mm,
um, when I saw you at the QSR conference. But public speaking still makes you nervous, and yet you do it so beautiful. So I want to ask you, what has that discomfort
mm.
taught you about yourself?
Well, first of all, I do wanna reaffirm that I do still get nervous, and I still get butterflies, and I still get sweaty palms, and I wanna explain why. Part of it, I think, is that callback to caring so much about what other people think, and, I am I am reading a book right now that is helping with that. I just finished it, I shared it earlier, Let Them.
Mm.
Uh, and here's why I get nervous. I think it's because I care. I have a little bit of a perfectionist tendency, so we want it to go exactly as we planned, easily squirreled or thrown off course. Um, and I always take a little risk. I always try to show up and be a little vulnerable. As an example, when I ran for, so I serve on the chart board of directors. I'm currently president elect. So
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
in just a few short months, I will step into the presidency role. Um, and
Go, Kelly.
just to put the plug out there, and this is what brought me to the QSR conference, by the way. But if you're in hospitality training and you don't know about chart, or you haven't gotten involved, or you need to step up your involvement, let me plug that right now, because chart.org, um, single-handedly the most influential decision that I made in my professional career was to join chart. I've grown more personally and professionally through that networked organization. Um, but when I first ran for the board, you have to get up and give a speech. And um, I always like to take these small risks, or at least it seems like it to me. So I decided at the end of my speech that I was going to sing, uh, because my presentation was about what I've learned from Disney princesses and how I would apply that. And so at the end, I sang, I want to be part of your board, part of your world. And I was so nervous about that moment. And I think that's ultimately what just hinges, like, will it land? Um, and the thing is, nothing lands if you don't take the leap. And so, um, what I do, and by the way, I saw you do this at the beginning of this, is I take a moment. And it's both about gratitude and breath. And so you take a moment and you just say, I'm doing what I love to be doing. And don't forget that. And you can sometimes even take that moment with the audience. In fact, if rewind to the very first World Summit, the Women in Restaurant Leadership, and I got to moderate the opening panel for that, and it was the Whataburger She Suite. Because at the time, our CPO, our COO, who's now our CEO, our chief legal officer, and our chief financial officer are all women. And I was thinking, who am I? Like, I lead the training team. Who am I to lead and moderate this panel of incredible leaders? And at the beginning of that, I took a moment with the audience and I said, just breathe with me. Like, let me take a moment of gratitude before we dive into it and look out and see your faces, because I can't believe this moment. And yes, it's mixed emotions and nerves. And so just taking that moment with the audience and looking out at them and just breathing for a moment just centered me, settled me. And it helped me remember it, right? Because things like this go by so fast. Like, we've been talking for 57 minutes and it goes by so fast. Life goes by so fast. You have to take those moments, and you have to take the leap. And so that's just what I do to stay grounded in the moment, and to make sure it's worth doing, is to take the leap.
Looking back, would you change anything?
Ooh, yeah, I'm a big believer in that, like, butterfly effect. You know what I mean? Like, if I changed one thing, would a butterfly's wings flap, and I would end up somewhere totally different. Um, every time I think back at moments that could be seen as regret or heartbreak, I see how they're interwoven to the things that led me here today. Let's take that, like, inevitable, everybody's had a breakup, right? And you think about, like, it's devastating at the time, but I wouldn't be with my partner today if that hadn't happened. So, the short answer is no. No, I am the people that I've met and the experiences that I've had, and the situations and challenges that have made me who I am. So no, I wouldn't.
Nice. What would you like people listening to take away from this episode?
Oh gosh, that we're all just people. Like, I'm just an imperfect human talking to another imperfect human about human stuff. And uh and I guess, if you haven't heard this message yet, I would just encourage, through this conversation, um what seed can you plant today, right? I love the saying, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
Hmm.
We often think about what we don't have, but what could you be planting today that, again, it happens so fast. Before you know it, blink, and what you've planted is sprouted and blooming and bearing fruit. And um, do the hard work. What can you plant today? It's a less than 5-minute task to proverbially plant that seed. What is that for you? Little things, taking better care of yourself, committing to getting up 5 minutes earlier. What is that goal that you have for today that you're going to accomplish? Plant the
Hmm.
seed to becoming a better you.
Be kind, do good, have fun.
Have fun. Yes, and this was so much fun. For me,
I
I hope
love
it was
that.
for you and anybody else that gets the chance to hear it.
Yeah. Kelly, thank you so much for showing up with such vulnerability and strength today. Your story truly reminds us that purpose is found in alignment, in the overlap between what we love and how we serve. For everybody listening, let this be a nudge to revisit your values, to trust your path, and to remember that discomfort doesn't mean that you're not ready. It just means that you're growing.
Mhm.
Until the next time, keep becoming who you truly are, like Kelly is telling us today. Thank you again, Kelly.
Oh, thanks, Maria. This was so much fun.